Yes, you've reached Button Mania, and I'm your host who gets all the buttons wrong. Yes, that's right. I'm Rand. No, welcome. Another Saturday, and we are going to be talking this Saturday or today about if you're new to Eurorack, and hopefully you can stick around and enjoy it. And we won't sort of mess with your mind and convince you or anything like this. It's just more just if you're new and you want some questions answered, hopefully this will be good for you. But to introduce everybody that's here, we have a full house. We've got, we'll start with Inky. Where are you, Inky? You're the first one there. I got that button right. Yeah, how's your week been?
Yeah, it's been a great week, thank you. Yeah. Musical,
fantastic.
So that's always good.
And good to have you back on the show. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's lovely to be back. It's like being home, isn't it? So
Yay.
Thanks for having me back.
Always
Yay.
welcome. Always welcome. And next is Andy. Good to see you again, Andy. Nice to have you again. How's your week been?
Hi, everybody. Interesting week. Car problems and buying a new car and that sort of thing. And it's always unbelievably stressful, that, for me. I hate the whole process. So I am currently without a car. I'll pick up the new one on Tuesday.
Oh wow, so, exciting!
Well, sort of. It becomes a very time-consuming sort of thing. But yeah, and I've been getting back into playing in here a little bit more. Got the little Electro talking to each other again, which is nice. And I've been making some new patches on the Novation thing here. So yeah, it's been quite amusing.
Fantastic. Well, that sounds good. And also you got your, like you said, you got your Electribes talking to each other again, so that's good.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. I suspect it's the MIDI connections on the back, these little mini jack things. I know they've got some advantages, but I just don't think they're quite as sturdy as the proper DIN things. And well, it's working now, so that was a relief.
Give it a wiggle.
Talking to each other, hooray!
Yeah. Well, let's say hi to a new guest this week. And we've got Will. Big hello to you, and thanks for coming on our show. Awesome to have you.
Thank you very much.
Say hi to everyone.
Hello, everybody. I'm here, and I'm weird.
Well, you'll fit right in with you've got weird Australians and weird English people as well. So it's all just going to be weird. Yeah, fantastic. Okay. So, yeah, if you're actually weird as well, a big welcome to you. No, I'm just joking. What we'll do is we'll say hello to the chatties, which we like to have each week. Geez, there's a lot of you guys this week. Finn, good to see you. Wagoo, Inverted Popes, ASIO Head, Axel Soft Music. I saw Adamski there, which is awesome to see you. Andrew Me, nice to see you, buddy. Good to have some Australians in the audience. And it's pretty late for us over here. Who else do we have? Wayne Murray, nice to see you, buddy. And yeah, I think if I've forgotten anyone, like I say every week, just throw your synth at the screen in disgust, because we just can't forget people. That's just horrible. But yeah, just blame it on my bad scrolling. All right, just have to click the button there and we're good to go. Okay, cool. So what we also like to do each week is we have a couple of regular segments, and we'll start off with the first one, which is Funny Side. And as I say, each week you have reached the end of the internet, where apparently it is funny and stranger things can happen. But starting with the first meme, which I've pretty much squandered upon from some Facebook site. Yes, if you're not recording your analog gear straight into tape or vinyl, instead into your Mac, you may as well just be using plugins. There you go. So do you feel guilty now with those digital mixers and controllers? Are you a true analog purist? This guy is. Next. Now, this one was interesting. So this isn't really a meme. This one, I don't know if you guys follow Behringer on Facebook.
Oh, I've seen this.
But they posted this little graphic. And I think they were just trying to have a little joke with everyone. But yeah, I don't know. Some people kind of thought it was a little bit evil. Like, what are you saying to us, Behringer? Do we just have to keep buying your synths, or what's going on? Yeah. I like the one there. Do you have possessions? No. Do you have a soul? I think that's getting a bit close to the win, that one. Yes. Anyway, I don't know, I thought it was pretty funny. So
I love that one. I love that. I've seen a similar one going about before they did this, but that is true though, isn't it? Let's all face it. It's true. Do you want to eat? No. We'll buy a synth.
Yeah. And also, what's the other one? Do you have money? No. Yes, I do, but not for synths. Blasphemy. That was pretty good as well. Anyway, moving right along. Andy brought some in as well, which I thought were pretty good. So you've got My Greatest Fear, When I Die, my wife will sell my synthesizer for what I told her it would cost. And there's a massive Moog synth. You got told that was only $50. Sorry, it was just a bit of wood and $50.
I got it used.
Yeah, you got it used, yeah. Got it off of Craigslist.
I rescued it out of a skip. Yeah.
Yeah. It was in somebody's closet. They gave it to me.
Yeah. Fantastic, that one. That was a good one, Andy. Well done for that. And the other one that he brought in was this one, Synth Forums. We rate a picture of your setup because we can't rate the song you've never finished. Oh, jeez. That is deep. Andy, that is deep. Hey. What was your favourite meme this week, gentlemen, ladies? Which one was your favourite?
I identify with the last one.
Yeah, Will identifies with not finishing a track. Yeah, well, all the albums that I've released are unfinished tracks, aren't they?
When I just saw it, I thought
the last
it
three.
was true. I mean, how much time do we actually spend on YouTube and Facebook and all of this sort of thing, rather than actually finishing something? It's true. I thought, oh dear, I felt like Gene Wilder was telling me off.
Yeah. Yes, he was. He was a nasty man. Okay, well, what we'll do now is we'll rock on into a bit of news. Now, there's not a lot of news this week. It was a bit more than last week, though, which is good. So we'll roll the stinger for news. Yes, news from the Geekery. First up, we have something new from Zoom. And I think it's not really synth related, but a lot of us use the Zoom stuff, and I thought this was actually quite interesting. So this is their new H8, which is brand new. No, I think they've only just released it this week. And I do have a little video. I don't know if we're going to watch it all, but I can tell you a little bit about it before we get into the video, though. It is obviously a new portable recorder, battery powered as well. It does replace, well, not replace, but it's like the next model up from the H6, which is one I've got, aimed for podcasters, and you'll see why in a sec. It's got a new feature app control, which is not on the older ones, and you can kind of see what they're doing with that screen down the bottom there. The multi-channel audio was the bit that interested me. It's actually got a 12-channel digital audio interface, and that's actually pretty cool. So you could use that as a pretty decent audio interface. 4 mic inputs with 2 XLR combos, gain controls and more. It also features this capsule connection thing that you see up the top, which is similar to what's on the H6, but they've got new extra capsules available. And what I'll do is I'll lose that and go to the first video. We'll have a little look. It's a bit salesy, but yeah.
Hi everyone, this is Samuel from Zoom. And today, we're going to take a look at podcasting using the Zoom H8 Handy Recorder. The H8 is a portable, adaptable machine, and the podcast app adapts it to meet your podcasting needs. Let's open up the app and check it out. The first thing you'll notice when you open up the podcast app are the 4 sound pads. These sound pads can be used to trigger sound effects, intro music, ads, and much more. They are triggered with a simple touch. You can assign new sounds to the pad by pressing Settings, then Sound Pad Assign. We've preloaded 13 sounds into the H8, but you can load any file on your SD card onto the sound pad. When using the podcast app, you can plug in up to 4 microphones in inputs 1, 2, A, and B. The sound pads record on tracks 3 and 4. You can plug any microphone into the H8, even those that require phantom power. You can get additional inputs by utilizing the capsule connection on the top of the H8. The H8 comes with an XY stereo microphone capsule, which is great for a variety of recording applications. Additional input capsules are available, some that are microphones and others that allow you to add extra microphone inputs. There are a variety of settings available for each microphone input on the H8. Open up the track settings menu to adjust.
All right, we're going to stop it there because he just keeps going on, and he's awesome and everything, but we haven't got time. You can watch that video later. There's actually 2 videos, and once you get the link, it'll jump into the next one. It's pretty awesome. Those of you who have got a H6 will probably recognize a lot of this stuff. It's like pretty similar, but this app thing for the podcasters does look interesting. I do note though that guy had pretty big fingers, and his finger just about covered the whole screen. So I'm imagining that screen would be pretty small. Would probably be my only criticism. He does talk about having only one headphone out, and it's something that a lot of Zoom users have said to Zoom for many years is, please give us a second headphone out, especially if we're going to have multiple mic inputs. It'd be nice if we could all sit around the Zoom for podcasting and have a second or even more microphone inputs. And in that video, he showed them using a Behringer headphone amp. So yeah, they're still not quite listing on there. But other than that, it's $399 and it's due out next month. So there we go. Quick reaction from ladies and gentlemen. Anyone interested in the H8?
I wanted to know a little bit more about it. Actually, I want to know. So it does USB.
Yes.
Mixing.
Yes.
So it's a USB interface / is there mixer like properties? You can do leveling and panning and stuff.
Yep.
It's got stereo inputs.
There's stereo inputs. You can combine inputs. You've also got filters, compressors, limiters, a few sort of extra features built into it.
That's pretty impressive.
Yep.
For a portable, that's pretty impressive. I mean, you can take a whole Eurorack somewhere and have all kinds of modules going into that thing on separate tracks and do a multi-track recording on the go.
Yeah, and the cool thing about the recording is if you put an SD card in it, it records all the lines as separate WAV files. So it's multi-track recording onto the SD card. That's been on their previous gear as well. But yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. I didn't know there was even something like that. That's great.
Fabulous. All right. Shall we keep going? Inky, you want to say something?
I just want to say I've got the H5N, is it?
Yes. Yep.
And the one thing that does, pretty much the same, but the one thing that lets it down is the interface. If you want to kind of put any effects on it, it's almost impossible.
Yeah, the menu driving. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man, you just wouldn't bother.
There's no app. Yeah, that's the problem.
Oh, okay.
It has got an app. It has got
an app. An app. APP app.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like app.
Yeah.
For like a tablet.
It's just a whole screen. It looks like it should be back in the 70s, really. It's clever, but you haven't got enough time in your life to figure it all out. So this looks good. Yeah.
Brilliant. Awesome, Inky. Okay, we'll keep moving. There's a couple of other things on the news. Next one is, this one was requested for me to show by Andy. This is something that they released at NAMM this year called the Lumatone. And we haven't really sort of seen much about this since. So what I thought we'd do is watch a little video and we'll go from there. Start with the video. Is this the right video? Yes, it is.
I've really only had a chance to play it for about an afternoon.
And it's feeling like...
Oh, it's feeling groovy.
This thing is wild, and I love it.
It's exciting. It's really exciting. It's been a long time since I've come across a piece of equipment that is this inspiring. Whatever you want to control, the Lumatone will do it.
For me, I feel like my brain wants to find new chords and wants to create new melodies that I wouldn't be creating on a regular piano.
Music and color are really closely connected.
The fact that you can program different colors makes music infinitely easier to play.
My mind is learning the instrument based on the colors.
Isomorphic. Okay, so that's what that means. The chord shapes are just the same.
Yeah.
I can't treat it like a power chord on a guitar. You know, once I'm comfortable with the shape, I can put it wherever I need it.
This idea that the same chord shape or scale can be moved anywhere on the keyboard, it's really powerful.
Move your hands up the keyboard, down the keyboard. The C major becomes a D major, becomes an E major, F major, while maintaining that exact same hand shape.
All right, so that is probably the big selling point of this, is that whole isomorphic kind of setup. And I think, Andy, was that what kind of drew you to that idea? Is it because of the, where's Andy? Go on, there he is. Was that the reason why you were interested in that?
I just got it. A number of that. Oh, I'll put my tongue back in my mouth. I just had the advert sent to me a number of times on YouTube, and I actually took the time to watch it because I thought it looked interesting. I'm quite interested in these different ways of controlling, and I just thought it looked interesting. And we talked last week about the Touche one. What was that called again?
Osmose.
The one with that's right, the Osmose. Yep. I mean that different way of playing a keyboard and controlling. And I just thought it was interesting. Certainly, the man who was talking about the microtonal playing, I thought that was quite fascinating. But I mean, the thing is very expensive. I mean, it's way out of my league. But it interests me that there are people working on these new ideas, new ways to control electronic sound. Because I mean, let's be honest. By and large, a key on a keyboard is just a switch, a pad on a BeatStep Pro or the Electro. It's just an on off. Okay, you can get aftertouch in them and that sort of thing, but it's still a fairly limited way of controlling a sound compared to, say, how a guitarist can manipulate a string, that sort of thing. And it's that's always sort of fascinated me. I mean, we talked last week about, you know, the wobbling your finger on a keyboard and it doing nothing, of course, and then we all do it. But on the Osmose, it will actually respond. On the Roly C board, it will respond, and this will do the same sort of thing. I just think it's an interesting development. I mean, whether it'll ever see the light of day, whether it'll be taken up by lots of people that remains to be seen. But it just shows that there are people out there who are exploring alternative ways to control electronic sound, and I think that's got to be interesting.
Yeah, it's good. It was good that you brought it up. I think probably the big thing to sort of talk about is the fact that it's not a standard, you know, black and white key, you know, normal sort of chromatic sort of scale. Do you know what I mean? It's a different sort of thing, almost kind of similar to, you know, like the pad type sort of setups, the grid pads and that you, I mean, if you've got something like a Ableton Push or even the Akai Force, you can actually program your pads to, you know, to different scales and to different sort of kind of like geometric shapes. So you're not sort of just doing, you know, linear type chords and things like that.
If you go right back into the origins of synthesizers, you know, Bob Moog himself was quite anti the idea of fitting a chromatic keyboard. He didn't want that. That was his marketing department saying, if you want musicians to get onto this, you need something that musicians will understand. I mean, Don Buckler, for example, he just refused point blank. You know, he had these touch sensitive pads, and you could set each one to its own individual voltage. The EMS wasn't originally designed to be controlled from a keyboard. That was something that came later. The joystick did the controlling of the sound. So the original synthesizers weren't necessarily perceived as keyboard instruments. It's only the success of the Moog modulars and then the Mini Moog, which means that synthesizers now, by and large, are perceived as keyboard instruments. That's what keyboard players play. They don't need to be, of course. We know that, but. So if it's
obviously the big one that started it all without a keyboard was the theremin, wasn't it? You know, that thing is completely keyboardless.
You don't touch it at all. You know, I mean, how radical an idea was that? You know.
Yeah. Well, I think it's good, and I think what it does is it puts us into a position where we start to think not just about you know, making standard sort of tunes, 4x4 beats, and sort of getting cornered into a sort of style of music. those sort of devices will actually inspire us to do things that are out of the norm. So yeah, it's good. Definitely worth thought.
Wait, when this
I think, do you want to go Will?
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
okay.
Go ahead, Lisa. I'll go after you, Lisa.
All right, Inky's going first. All right, there we
Oh,
go.
all right. Well, when this came out, I actually commented on the video and they replied. The only thing that does put me off is the price.
Yeah,
It's a bit steep.
$3,999 is the MSRP.
If you've got a Force, that's actually got more. I don't think this has got aftertouch in it. So actually, you could buy like 3 Forces or even 4 Forces. So that's, if it had been $1,000, you might go, oh well, I don't know, but at that price, I'm not sure who's going to buy it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
when they first came out, they were 2,000 or something. There was so they might still be that, but the MSRP is 3,900. Anyway, Will, you were going to say?
It draws attention to, something like synesthesia as well. Synesthesia is being able to see sounds, because you see colors. You see. This is something I deal with. Is I hear sounds and I see colors.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm not a visual learner in that way. I'm a audio type learner, but I relate learning to colors and visuals rather than and muscle memory rather than reading. I'm more of I have to tie 2 elements together to remember it, like color, sound. Those 2 things. If I can put color and sound together, I'm much more likely to remember what it is I'm learning. Or like, it's just similar to like if you're needing to learn something for a test and you come up with a fancy acronym to remember it because it's easier for you to remember things if you put it into an acronym. It's just another way to remember and to learn. So I'm all for anything. But geez, you're almost at a CS60 at that price.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, look, it's one of those things. It's early adopters pay the price, so it might Andrew Mees in the chat. He's one of the MIDI guys, so he's mentioned a couple of alternatives. I might have to be able to scroll up to find it because it did scroll pretty quickly. He mentioned yeah, he was saying it was really expensive. Strizo board, I think he mentioned. I can't remember where he said it now. There was something else he mentioned. Say it again, Andrew, if you're there, because I've lost it. It's scrolled too far back.
We mentioned earlier, Anzi, about the fact that there are a number of these alternative controlling devices out there on the market, at varying price points. I mean, like we know Darren's got the Touche. There's the Osmosa keyboard. There's the Harken Continuum thing, which actually is a really fascinating instrument again to me. I just love the fact that those things are out there. I mean, you could even include things like the Lyra 8 and the Pulsar 23. These things are different ways of controlling. Okay, and I think that's fascinating. I mean, I've been playing keyboard since I was 8 years old. Maybe I'm just getting bored of the black and white and want something different. A bit like Will was saying, different colours. Really would be nice.
Yeah, and the woodwind instruments, the virtual wind instruments that they have, like you can blow into them and like there's all kinds of amazing technology out there. I was looking at a module last week, actually. I think it was called the Brain Wave or something. You put the little thing on your head and it actually changes, all kinds of parameters on your brain wave. So you can control the thing just from thinking, relaxing.
Oh, send me that link.
Doing this.
Yeah.
Sure, I will.
That will
be. It's pretty
intense.
intense.
Scary, but very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, what I actually need is that module, but actually it writes my music for me, and then I can just sit back and drink a beer. That'd be awesome. All right, let's move right along.
One or two people have had to mention the D-beam in there, haven't they?
Yes, they have. Yes,
we couldn't get away from it, really, could we?
No. Now, as you guys know, I love. Let's keep it clean. I love my DIY stuff, and this is another one that's come up, and I just love it when DIY stuff comes up. This guy I think he's an Australian guy. His name's Geordie. Anyway, it's just called a Nano Pi, and it's a DIY synth project based on the Raspberry Pi, of course, and also based on the Korg Nano Key. And they're using, I think, sort of the standard library called the Fluid Synth library, but he's kind of merged these three products together and kind of done a few other bits and pieces. There's a GitHub thing, but there's also a video, and we shall look at the video now. Which one is the video? Is it this one? It is. Here we go. I'm not going to play the whole video because it's quite long, but we'll have a little look.
Hey everyone. In this video, I'm going to give an overview of my new device, the Nano Pi, and go over how and why I built it. So if you haven't already seen the demo video, go check that out now up here. So aside from just being a standalone synth, what else can this thing do? Well, you can actually plug in an external MIDI controller into it, you can use them in unison, you can use it as a drum machine, you can even charge your phone with it. So why did I build this? Well, I suppose I've always loved the idea of a synth that
Alright, we weren't going to go into there. I just wanted to show that little bit, and then we're now going to show this bit, which is this little demo. Here we go. Well, anyway, that is the Nano Pi. Now, the cool thing about it is that he makes a couple of points. One is he sort of talked about how he couldn't afford a teenage engineering OP1, and you know, there's probably a lot of people out there that are in that situation. So he decided to make his own. I think that was cool. It was like, well, I don't have money, so I'm just gonna make my own. The other thing that I liked about it too is that you don't have to obviously use the nano keys on it. You can plug in a USB external MIDI controller to it, and he showed that as well in the video. So bit of info about this. It's complicated in terms of working out what the price would be, but basically it's pretty much free if you've already got this stuff lying around. So if you've already got a nano key, you've already got a Raspberry Pi, all you need is a couple of other bits and pieces that you can probably get from your local electronic shop, like a battery and stuff like that. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. What did you guys think of the Nano Pi? Anyone seen that before?
I want his coat.
I have not seen that. I have not seen that. I did own a OP1 though, and if there's any similarities, you know, it's probably a good little device. I'm kind of curious about its integration with like iPads or stuff like that, because you know, I've got an idea for a controller. It's got $1 million tag on it if anybody wants to make some money. So we got these iPads with all these accelerometers and all that stuff in there. I mean, they need to be using that as controllers. I wonder if that can do that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's that fancy. Yeah, don't know if it's that fancy, but in terms of, is it like an OP1? Well, not really. I think his point was just trying to make it portable like an OP1. Yeah, you're probably in a very tiny, minute corner of the OP1, it might be. But yeah, the OP1's a sampler and a whole bunch more. It's got an OLED display. That thing didn't have any OLED display. It was purely just MIDI keyboard and make sounds and changing patches. So yeah, but yeah, look, this sort of stuff is interesting, and I like to show it. So you know, give the small projects a bit of a run. Inky, did you want to say anything about that, or should we move on?
No. I mean, good on the guy, but I'm not interested in that really. Thank you.
Thanks, Geordie. All right, and we'll move right along to the next segment, which is our favourite segment. Yes, we are watching. We're watching you, eBay. Yes, eBay, it's all your fault. Please don't sue me. Actually, it's not. We do check out sort of deals that pop around on the internet and each week, and lots of people send them to me now, which is awesome. Makes my job easier. So what did we come up with first? The first one was the one I found, was software. I just think this is crazy. £929 for some old isotope software. What? And you should see the thread that's on this forum. Okay. It's gone nuts since the guy posted this.
You can't buy it.
No, they can't buy it. This thread has gone completely crazy when this guy posted this on the forum. So yeah, you can buy software. Now, for those who are playing along at home and have no idea what isotope is, it's basically a audio, a whole bunch of audio sort of tools that they make, and Isotope Trash 2 would definitely be one of their very, very early tools, very early indeed. But anyway, moving right along, we have another one here. What do we have got? This one here. This one sent in from Andy. Good on you, mate. Finally, we got an Ensoniq Fismo, £1,200. It's used and it's good, apparently. It's used and
Look
good.
Look at the state of it. It's dirty.
Yeah, someone needed to clean it.
Look at the jog wheels.
Why couldn't they just get some Windex and clean it? Eh? Bit of even just a bit of damp cloth or something. Jeez.
When I saw that it was in Manchester, I wondered if it was Darren selling it, but then I realised I saw the name below. And I put the blocks over the names. I thought it was only fair to do that. I've no idea really whether that's a scam or not, or whether that machine is actually. I mean, some of the old Ensoniq synths are actually, to this day, very desirable things. I mean, I know, Ranzi, you've got an ESQ1, but the SQ80, the VFX, the SD1, those synths were fantastic sounding machines, and I'd still love to get hold of one. But this is one I don't really know much about. I think it's one of their very last things before the company went under. So I think a bit like that keyboard from Oasis that put them out of business. I think maybe this was what did for Ensoniq.
Yeah. Look, the Fismo is quite rare now. I do remember when they actually came out, and I was actually going to buy one, but I don't know why I didn't. I think I got a Yamaha instead at the time. Look, 1,200 is probably on the higher side. I know there's a few people in chat who would say they'd pay it. I probably wouldn't. Look, the SQ80 is probably the best Ensoniq that they make because it's got polyphonic aftertouch on that keyboard, which is you can actually use as a MIDI controller as well, and it's pretty much the same engine as the ESQ1.
The VFX had polyphonic aftertouch as well.
Yeah,
the EPS 16s. They felt strange to play, but they were beautifully responsive. We're back to that sort of response thing again.
Yeah, that sort of performance stuff. Yeah, look, it's not a scam price. It's probably just banking on the fact that it's rare for that one. Yeah. All right, we'll keep moving. So yeah, I think we mentioned the Fismo as weird looking synths go as well. I mean, look at that lovely sort of spray painted.
I think it's a nice colour.
It's sort of I
like the two-tone purple haze.
Yeah, kind of interesting.
Yeah. Matches my hair.
So what was this one? This was a whole bunch of guitar pedals. Look at the price. Whoa, what the hell?
Oh my, whoa.
What's that orange thing?
And they're all Behringer as well.
look where the cellar is. The cellar's in Sheffield. It's not me, I promise.
I'm just trying to work out what that orange thing is.
Is it just made it?
Cool Cat.
The Cool Cat's a
distortion.
The Cool Cat's a distortion.
Can I just talk about that price?
Yeah. You talk about the price.
Why is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Has he just gone? I don't know how much these are. I'll count to 10.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what?
But it doesn't half make you look when you see it. You go, what the? And then you look closer and you go, well, actually, yeah, that Cool Cat, that might be all right. The turbo distortion from Boss, I know. But it clearly doesn't really want £1,234,567, does it? I mean,
you could probably buy all the pedals, all the different makes of pedals in the world for that. that I'd put that to a test. I reckon you could buy every single make and manufacturer of guitar pedals in the world, and you'd still have change from that amount of money. That's a lot of money.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, you could make your own pedals.
Yeah, you could employ someone.
There's a guy on YouTube, JHS Pedals. He does a load of stuff on guitar, but he's really, really brilliant. But some, and he's got absolutely massive collection of pedals, and some of them are they go for really, really high amounts of money.
Yeah,
and you think, wow, it's just a chorus pedal. What about?
Yeah. So, all right, let's keep going. Let's keep going because we've got to get through other stuff as well. I think the last one was your guitar. Now, I mean, 160 pounds. That's not too bad. It's not too bad.
I think it only costs.
I've got a Yamaha. I've got an old Yamaha thing. I'm going to get it out and sell it. If he's getting that for that.
The thrift store special.
Yeah, there's a lot of retro gear people that buy that sort of stuff.
It does have a MIDI out. If I remember way back in sort of 1987 when it came out, it does actually have a MIDI out, so it could be used to control.
Oh, that's worth it.
To control other things, but I mean, I'm sure it wasn't that price when it was new.
It probably wasn't, but these things they don't make them anymore, and they're kind of getting sought after. Yeah. Anyway, how did you like that? The price watch and eBay kind of scammy. Well, guitar pedal scams. That's I could agree with that one. That's for sure. But yeah, like software. I mean, honestly, who is stupid enough to buy used software on the internet? I would never ever buy used software on the internet. Never. It was
something about that on Sonic State.
There was,
a week or so ago, some new website that's dealing with relicensing of old software. Yeah. I have to be honest and say I couldn't get my head around it at all, how that would function. But then again, they're cleverer than me, so.
Yeah, it's good to know a couple of hackers if you really want software. What's it called?
Behave, you get in trouble.
Klon Centaur pedals, KLON.
No.
I'm looking on Reverb because I just wanted to see what the most expensive pedals were, and these are used, and they're like over $3,000 each.
Yeah,
still a long way away from £1 million, though, isn't it?
I didn't think there would even be one that expensive.
Yeah, you're right.
$3,000.
Probably right. I mean, I always think the Eventide and the Strymons and that I always think they're expensive. They're awesome pedals though, but yeah. So,
but it's like guitars, isn't it? I mean, it's a bit of wood with 5 strings, and I know the guitarist is going to hate me, and I know that I know a Gibson Country Gentleman with gold pickups does sound amazing for $2,000, but how much is a $20,000 guitar going to sound better? Do you know what I'm saying? So. We're the same in the synth world, really, aren't we?
We are.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, be careful. You're digging a hole.
Well, everyone can hate me now. But, yeah.
Well, I was thinking about this last night, actually, Inky, because I was watching some stuff about a Line 6 guitar amp, and I was actually thinking how much of the sound of any guitar that you hear on a record is actually down to processing. To what extent does the actual signal going into all these processors actually really matter? I'm sure the actual playability of an instrument matters to the guitarists themselves, but the actual sound, how much is that signal coming out of the guitar before it goes into all of these stomp boxes and through all of these valve compressors? And I just or are we all just guilty of that? Are we also? Well, it's just an oscillator going through a load of processors, isn't it?
Well, there is a difference. So I was once in a room where a brilliant guitarist played Gibson Country Gentleman, which is a half-bodied electric guitar, gold pickups, and he did harmonics on that, and my gob just fell open like heaven had opened. And I'd never heard anything like it. But then, as you say, once you're putting it through effects and stuff, then it does kind of become irrelevant, doesn't it? But then we could say that other thing. We could say that about synths, and so you know, we're on dodgy ground, aren't we? So I think we should
definitely on dodgy ground. We have to
finish this.
We should change the topic. Just in case. I want to introduce everyone to Will anyway, because he was kind of starting to talk about some cool stuff, and I thought it's a great segue anyway to Will, to introduce your studio there and talk us a little bit about what you've got set up there. It looks really awesome. So I'm going to put it over to you, mate. Introduce yourself and tell us about your studio and go from there.
Well, my name's Will. I go by many names. I'm the neighborhood nerd. You call me EyeWill, Odd Pilot. I'm basically just a normal guy with a passion for music, and I love synthesis. It's something I get a great amount of therapeutic benefits from. Like for me, it's meditative. I feel like you can pretty much handle anything at the end of the day if you've got some oscillators going, you know, and you know what a knob does. You know, when you know what a knob does, then you've got something. And that was my goal about 4 or 5 years ago, was just to know what a knob did when I grabbed it. I used to watch a lot of like live, you know, I don't know, beat makers and, you know, Beardy Man and people like this. And I just I was like, if I'm going to make music, I want to make it so, you know, I can do it on the spot. I want to know my equipment. So I you know, started some class at Berkeley School of Music, got some training with Ableton. So I'm an Ableton guy. That was how I got introduced to basically like hardware performing, was through Ableton. And then I slowly moved away from computers completely, and, you know, I'm doing a lot of boom bap, a lot of hip hop stuff, where I just use synthesizers. I create patches on the spot in real time, and then I try to implement those into beats. Like within a single live stream, I might make 4 or 5 beats using one single patch from an initial patch. So I just do that for myself. I work with a crew of guys, Eurorack. So shout out to those guys. It's an underground hip hop community, and yeah, I'm like the synth guy. So when people want to know what they need, you know, they come to me, and I try to give them a hand, tell them, steer them in the right direction. So as far as gear goes, I've got a sledge. This is version 2, and then let's see. Yeah, so I got the sledge, the black, and then this is a Prophet Rev 2, the 16 voice. You can see the MS-20 Mini over there. And then I got the drum set behind me, MPC. I've got a Prophet 6 desktop right here. I've got a Force underneath this keyboard. I got a i9 computer over here. I got a Deluge, you know, Allen and Heath Q32 mixer, and I've got a Digitone, a bunch of other stuff. But it's always about the maker. It's never about the equipment. So if you know, you want to get started in music, just use your phone, use your tablet, use whatever you have, get into synthesis. It's a very therapeutic thing for me. And I think my wife's a board certified psychiatrist. So we work, you know, we work in the mental health. This is kind of our zone. So we try to bring people up. Actually, I recruited Lisa. Lisa probably wouldn't be on camera right now if we didn't have a meeting about 3 years ago, roughly 3 years ago. She was only showing her hair back then. She wouldn't come on camera. She wouldn't show her face. But slowly but surely, we built a friendship. And a lot of there's probably 150.
Quite literally, I wouldn't be on because you sent me the camera I'm on now. So quite literally, I wouldn't be on here because I wouldn't have a camera. So thanks, Will, for that.
Right.
This is Will's camera.
No problem.
And Lisa, am I right by saying I was the first channel that you came on to, though? Is that, if I remember that rightly?
Yeah. But Will made me join this thing called Marco Polo because Will prefers Marco Polo, which is a video thing. So he wanted me to join this group who I'd never met and be on video. And I was like, oh, dude, this is a bit too much. Can't we just do Messenger? He was like, no, you've got to do Marco Polo. So that gave me the confidence to kind of said, like, does anybody want to come on? I thought, well, I'll give it a go. So, yeah, 3.5 years ago, I wouldn't even have my photo taken.
That's awesome.
I still won't, actually. I still won't. But,
And if you're looking for a spot to join, come find us, and that's it. So that's what it's about reaching out to people, finding people like who I was at one time in my basement by myself, wishing I had somebody to connect with on a musical basis. And I found people. And so I just tried to continue that and try to find more people that want to not be alone, So I met my wife in a homeless shelter. I was in rough times. Been a lot of rough times, but things are good now. As far as my studio feels good. I just moved everything, and so I'm loving where I'm at. I'm loving the circle of friends that I have, and I really appreciate Lisa asking me to come on and you allowing me to be on your live stream. So thank you.
I'd love to have you, mate. Absolutely. You're actually really in really good company. We've tackled the hard topic of I did a live stream about depression and music. What was that, about 6 months ago? So and I got told not to do it. People were warning me, if you do it, it's going to ruin you. And I went, no, I want to do it because it's the elephant in the room. There's a lot of people in the same boat. So we tackled it. So
And it was
off to your wife.
An inspiring story, that Will. Really lovely story. I think we've all had our dark times, and I think we what you were saying about music as therapy is so relevant, and so even if it's just sitting down and listening to some music, but coming in and creating it, and or even just simply making a patch on a synth. Is a means of just disconnecting from the things that are causing you to suffer the anxieties. I mean, I've mentioned already about my car and buying a new car. These things really stress me out. I mean, people will say, "Why? You're just buying something. Don't be silly." But it causes me such anxiety. I get in such a state. I come in here, I put on some music, I start playing with patches, and it just helps me to get away from it.
Yeah, so, that's awesome, man. Awesome. Well,
we're blessed.
We are.
Absolutely.
And it's all positive stuff. And I want to go back to you again, because this week the topic is perfect for you because you've just started getting into Eurorack. I've only had one beer into Eurorack. So let's put you on the spot here. Tell us a little bit about I've noticed that you talked about you've got the Magneto. You might want to change your camera angle because you had that awesome camera shot there.
Yeah, semi-awesome. I can probably zoom it in a little bit better and just to have some sort of perspective here on what I got. So this the one that's furthest to the right is I bought it as Synthbox, actually. So Synthbox was way cheaper than Bitbox brand new. Bitbox was like 600 US. Synthbox was like 450-ish, and it was brand new. And I'm not sure why, because Synthbox, Bitbox, FXbox are all the same housing. It's a Series 1 module, so you can just put the firmware for Bitbox on it, and now you've got Bitbox. So it's a Synthbox module running Bitbox firmware. Next to that, this is the Power 30, Row Power 35 module.
Yep.
That for the power. Then next to the left of the Bitbox is rings.
Yep. This is a resonator.
This is a resonator.
Yep.
And then Magneto is next to that. I got Ornament and Crime coming. Supposed to be here yesterday, so that should be here soon. Which is a Magpie. It's a sequencer. It does a whole bunch of stuff. So as far as rack stuff, that's what I've got. but I do have that case. This case, I'm very excited. I think it's important for me to have a proper case. So the case is built for this desk. So it'll sit here, it'll open up, it'll be patched resealable, so I can leave it patched and close the lid. And then it'll be quite mobile for me. So, I can take my Deluge and my my rack and go out in the woods. I've got like ATVs and things like that. So I'm like a woodsman. I cut trees. And, I'm like just an all around weird guy.
That's cool. Awesome.
That's what. Yeah.
So I hope
that answers.
Yeah. So from your personal view, what sort of started you? What cracked it? What made you buy your first module? I think you mentioned it was the synth box, right? What was the thing that made you get that?
Well, so I've always been interested in modular, even before I bought my first synthesizer. The first synthesizer I ever purchased is over here. I got it on a used, like a local, like a newspaper ad, and it was $60. It's a CZ3000, Casio CZ3000.
Cool.
It's a phase distortion synth, and I really just loved being able to make my own sounds. And I just never really understood why people use pre-made sounds. I just always felt if I'm going to make something, I want it to be something that no one's ever heard. And if you make your own patch, no one's ever heard that sound before. It's physically impossible to make. If you're making with synths, with analog equipment, you might be able to get quite close to another sound, but it's damn near impossible to make a sound identical to somebody else's, if you have the same equipment. So, that's really how I got into synthesizers, was just wanting to make my own stuff and then trying to figure out how to go about, the keyboards and the modular and everything else. I was like, I need to learn synthesis before I start with the modular. So I started with the iPads and stuff like that, and then went to the CZ. Now I'm at a place now where I understand synthesis enough that if I get a modular and I can apply the same techniques that I use to make synth patches on a Prophet, I can do similar stuff, and now that I've got a nice mixer, I can send multiple signals. And so that's really appealing to me, to have multiple destinations, having multiple sources, sending to multiple destinations and combining them in weird ways and things like that. So I always look for ultimate hybridity. I want to be able to use my computer if I want, or not, or both, anytime. That's why I have like a live setup like this. I can go live anytime with multiple cameras and blah, blah, blah. So for me, it's the immediacy of modular that's really gratifying. And so it was the first purchase was all of these. This was my first purchase. I purchased everything at one go.
Yep.
So
cool. Awesome.
And the next purchase might be a mixer. It might be a modular mixer. Or VCA.
Yeah.
So
I've been looking at the modular mixers. So obviously there's a few that you can get. Obviously there's heaps that you can get, but you kind of go down a path, and there's modules that relate to that path that you go down. It's not like all of Eurorack, I'm just going to get randomly this. You can do that too, but it's kind of, you usually go down a sort of a theory. For me, when I first started, it was more, I bought the Behringer Neutron, and I got that as a utility tool as opposed to really a synth. And as a result of that, it forced me to buy the Arturia rack root, which you can see just behind me here. And I'll get you a better picture of it. And so that sort of started me. And but actually, believe it or not, I actually had a Eurorack module for a long time, sitting in a box doing nothing, and I never had a module rack to put it in, or a skiff, which was the Scooper. And I've had that for ages. And it's just a very interesting sort of Roland sort of tangent that went on with those modules. And they don't make them anymore too, which makes these kind of sought after in a way. But yeah, I kind of ventured down the path. I got the Magneto as my second module, and I love that. It's really, really cool. It's actually very musical. If you ever want if you ever want to get into sort of delays and, you know, that sort of tape, sort of semi-sampling and looping sort of stuff, it's such a cool module. I'm still learning it, so I'm probably not quite ready to do a video on it yet because I still find that I need to know more about it. It has ended up in some of my tracks. Yeah. But I think the big one for me, the one that really, well, I knocked the camera just then, sorry guys. The one that really sent me into sort of like craziness was the Make Noise Maths module. Absolutely can't recommend that module any more than anything else. Like, you literally, if you don't have the Make Noise Maths, then you've got like a hole in your Eurorack, kind of like that up there. That's what happens if you don't. You know. So what I'm kind of doing at the moment is I'm kind of venturing down the path of doing the Roland System 100M, and you can see I've got a couple of the actual Moleco Roland modules up the top here, and I've also got the Behringer ones. Get a better view with the other camera angle, which is that one. So you can see I've started populating the Behringer clone modules there. And I'm really enjoying that. It's like a vintagey sort of sound that you'd get from the old sort of late 70s, early 80s type Roland sound. And that's one of some of the sounds that really kind of warmed my heart from the music that I used to listen to in those days. So that's kind of why I did it. Now, the reason why you get into Eurorack, and everyone is kind of saying this like at the moment, where they'll say, don't get into Eurorack, you're going to, you might as well throw your wallet out your window. Well, it depends on how much self-control you've got. I really do think it could end up being something where you could end up throwing your wallet out the window if you don't have any self-control. But at the same time, I mean, there's a lot of us that buy synths, and you can see just around me, I've got heaps of synths here. Maybe would I have bought as many synths if I started Eurorack earlier? Who knows? Probably not. But, that's the sort of, to me, that's a kind of a silly thing that they've said, like, don't get into Eurorack if you're worried about money. Well, look, it's really not too bad. And I think I was talking to Andy before we started the show today. One of the things that I think Eurorack does that, like, we all said it before, once you start creating patches on Eurorack, they're very unique, and they only exist with you. And that means that you've got a unique sound. A lot of people that write music love to have that unique sound. And the other thing is that when you're looking at a hardware synth like this, for example, is it's got predetermined routing and modulation in it. So that means that if I wanted to do something funky with this, I can't. It's stuck to whatever Korg have allowed me to do with it. So, for example, if I wanted to send the LFO, because I like the LFO, it's a really bad example, but I'll just go with it. If I want to send the LFO out of this and use it in my Novation peak, I can't, right? So, because I haven't got an output for the LFO. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many examples we could give. And what Eurorack does is it gives you a lot more flexibility in that sort of world. And, like I was just showing a photo before the camera before, where I've got the Make Noise Maths. Where are we?
Man down.
Andy's computer's about to blow up. Where is it? There we go. So the Make Noise Maths at the moment is going into the Behringer filter over here. But I've also got the envelope generator from the Behringer as well going into, because you've got multiple modulation inputs, and that's not very good. You can't really zoom in on that, sorry. But I can turn with a little potentiometer, I can turn one of those modulation sources off or reduce it so that means if I want to run a different envelope generator, I don't have to unplug anything. It's just permanently stuck in there for now, and I can switch between the two. And so at the moment, I've got the VCA being run by Make Noise and the filter being run by the Behringer envelope generator, which you can see there. So, this is what I'm saying. Like, the theory of Eurorack is a big thing, and it might be overwhelming for people, but really it's not too bad. And I think what it does is it kind of throws us into sound design and synthesis in a way that can only be positive. Like, the community is actually really helpful. Like, when I first started with Eurorack, I'm onto Facebook groups called Muff Wigglers or Aussie Wigglers for me in Australia. And yeah, you do get some grumpy people on there that tell you to bugger off, but most people are actually really, really helpful. And geez, listen to Andy's fan. I wonder if I can. Yeah, that's Andy. Listen to that. Andy on?
Going to take off.
Andy off. Jeez.
Hey, they could use that as an oscillator.
You could. That's awesome. So kind of this is where I want to go.
So,
sorry about
another thing I was going to say about modular is one of my bros who you could find on Instagram at gamma pods _ at gamma _ pods. Yeah. He has a space issue. So with him, it's like he wants to build something that can do everything that he needs it to do without. So he, if he buys a Prophet 6, the cost of that might not be everything he actually needs. So he's piecing it together little bits at a time because he doesn't have the space. He doesn't have a spot like what I have behind me to lay out all kinds of gear. Yeah. He needs to maximize his space. So you can always go up until you get to the ceiling. And then you can actually tilt it and come back towards you. But so you can, basically maximize your space and get exactly what you want out of your synthesizer. I mean, I'm probably always going to love the feel of a hardware synth, but for me to mangle up audio, and one other cool thing about Magneto is you can actually use that like a synthesizer. Yeah, it's got a free, like you can, it's got an infinity switch on it, and you can hit that button and you can hold the delay and tune it like an oscillator, and then bring up the other tape heads, which are all offset with their pitch. So it ends up sounding like a lush, saturated, synth chord or something. So you can really, and even with the, you talked about it with the tape stop and stuff, you can mimic scratching of vinyl with the Magneto. And that's pretty amazing to be able to mimic real classic, like hip hop style sounds using modular. And that's what I'm into, trying to make, I want to trick someone's ear to make them think that they're listening to something that was sampled.
Yeah, I love the tape stuff. And I'll be honest, I've pushed the Magneto to the point where I'm trying to hear if it's got artifacts because it's digital, right? I'm trying to push it to see if it's done any of those crazy artifacts. I can't notice any yet so far. And that's a big tribute to them because I think that because they went down that development route with Timeline and the Big Sky, they really kind of learned they learned their craft with those two guitar pedals because they're really, really good products. And then the Magneto is kind of the birth out of that sort of, that well-known, they've got the algorithms there. So, yeah, it was definitely worth it.
It's like they spent a lot of time on it.
Yeah. So most of these guys in chat are pretty much, look, seeing out in chat, if you're not in Eurorack and you're thinking to yourself, look, I'm thinking about it, but I'm too scared to admit it. I'll tell you one benefit. If you're married, you can actually sneak the modules in the house pretty easily because they're pretty small. So it is actually a really cool thing. You can just sneak these little modules in. They don't cost much to post as well. So anyway, I'm just kidding. If you're new to Eurorack and you're kind of thinking about it, jump into chat and let us know what your thoughts are. We can help. If you need a little sort of cuddle or anything like that, there's guys in there that will help you with that. All right. So Andy and Inky both, I know, see Inky's got a Neutron, so she's touched a little bit of that Eurorack land. Have you touched the right-hand side of your Neutron where all those patch points are?
That's why I bought it. I bought it so that it wouldn't have to get into Eurorack. I thought, well, this is my way. Yeah, I love it. I only use it with that. That's what I use it for. I've got this little patch going on that it makes like a bit of a rave line. So it got a kick drum and then a hi-hat and then like a bassy sound. What have I done? yeah, the oscillator mix is controlling the VCA and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm into it.
She's in it.
She's deep.
I mean, yeah. But at the moment, I've just got to. I really want to get some tracks done. It's a bit like Andy's meme. I really need to make some good tracks before I can treat myself. But I think Eurorack might be the next step. But like I said, I want some more tracks first. That's what I'm telling myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why I bought it, and yeah, I love it. I love it for that.
Yeah, I completely understand what you're saying too, though, because it's really easy to want to add another element to the studio because there's many factors. You know, you can kind of get bored with your surroundings. You see a good price. If something catches your eye. But one thing I've learned is every time you add something to your studio, you take a step back for at least a month with your creativity because it's hard to implement that piece of equipment into your normal setup straight away. So, you know, I understand wanting to get some track.
Too much can distract. I agree. Too much can distract. You end up exploring rather than finishing. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So,
yep,
I mean, I love this Digitone, but it's never been anywhere near a track. You know, I keep thinking I'll sample it. I might sample it. It's a very interesting product, but when it comes down to it, it's all a bit too much like hard work. And I don't want music to be like work. I want it to be fun and very instinctive and very immediate.
Yeah.
So
that could be another topic about, are we distracted with too much gear? I mean, it's something that we could all definitely talk about.
No one's gonna like that because everybody's gonna feel guilty because
everyone's gonna be in denial.
Yeah. I mean, no, that's a bad topic.
Look, I get a lot of gear, and I kind of have a bit of the problem where I become. Have you guys ever heard of the old saying, "Jack of all trades, master of none"? So it does become a bit of that for me, and as a result, I hold on to gear a lot longer than I see other people. They get gear, they get really good at it, and they move it on. But that's probably because they don't have as much gear that they have to sort of get up to speed with at the same time, whereas I'm dabbling a bit in that, and then I have to move on to something else. So right now, I've just got a Force, and I'll be honest, it's been really quick for me to get up to speed on that because I've had the MPC Live for 3 years, so it was quite easy. But if I had got that Force first, which you couldn't have because it wasn't around, but like if I did, I reckon it would have taken me a lot longer to get up to speed on that. Eurorack's been pretty quick because I've already been using synths for so many years, so that was fine. But there were a few sort of things that I didn't understand, and you just use the forums for that. But yeah, the Argon 8's one that I got recently, and I haven't really touched that since the last time I showed you guys on the stream, which was a couple of weeks. So I haven't actually plugged it in since then. So it's been sitting there and it's been mocking me, saying, "Turn me on and plug me in." Haven't got round to it. So I've got kids and stuff as well. So yeah, you're right. It's definitely a problem, but I don't think it's a bad problem. I just think it's a problem.
I'll say this too. I say this to a lot of people. And you can go ahead and show your wives this at home. Will told you that gas, gear acquisition syndrome, as we call it at times, can look identical to somebody who doesn't actually know what it is, how they want to work. So when you don't know how you want to work, you don't know what you want to work with, it will look a lot like gas because you're buying things hoping that it'll give you a little something, and then you find out it doesn't. And then for me, it was about selling that and finding something else. So that's why I moved on from the OP1. That's why I moved on from my Sub Fatty. That's why I moved on from my Voyager. That's why I moved on from my Poly Evolver. These types of things didn't do what I needed them to do. So I moved on from them and got other things that fit my workflow a lot better.
Yeah.
So show your wives that you don't have gas, that you're just trying to figure out how you want to work.
Yeah, well, the
message.
The other thing too, the other thing too is if you're punching out tracks, and those bits of gear have inspired you to punch out the tracks, I think that's also a good sign as well. So yeah, I'm literally about to release my new album for the year. I've been talking about it before. I've just got one track that I'm finishing off now, and it's in the mixing mastering stage now. So we're literally about to, probably within the next week or so, you should see all the stuff come out from me. And that album has been in development from kind of around March last year, so well over 12 months. And there's only 12 tracks on that album. So it's like, if you wanted to sort of split it up, it's like a month a track. But I mean, I'm not sort of, a time machine that I want to sort of push things out quickly or anything like that. It was kind of more like, that's just how it happened to happen. And, but for me, the difference between sort of something that you would release versus something that's a jam versus something that's kind of sitting on your Ableton folder project list. You know what I mean? Like there's kind of all this stuff sitting there. That's what I mean by when you're using gear, whether it's inspired you enough to actually create a track that's melodic enough and publicly, you're happy to share that. I think that's a good thing. If gear's helped you with that, then it can't be a bad thing. If Eurorack helps you with that, can't be a bad thing. So this last track that I'm making, it's Darren's already done a remix of half of it, so you guys have probably got an idea of how it's going to sound. But it features a lot of the Behringer Eurorack stuff in there, a lot of sort of sequency. It's my sort of style, late 70s sort of prog rock synthesizer stuff. That's my thing, But that's kind of that's what I like. It's what I enjoy. All right. Have we got any questions from the guys in chat? Not really. So most of these guys in chat, no.
Randy's gone.
Yeah, he's thumping the screen. Can I just let me just jump to chat for a sec. So let me go to here. Now, hopefully this button works. You'll like this. Hopefully you'll be impressed with this. See if it works. Give it a second. There you go. Look at that. Down below it says socials. Music Co has asked me if my album was made with Eurorack exclusively. No. So as I mentioned, and you probably heard me say it after you probably asked it, it's about 12-ish months worth of music, and most of it I've already released as separate tracks on SoundCloud. So people that follow me on SoundCloud have already heard most of the tracks anyway. But yeah, the last 2 or 3 tracks have got Eurorack in them, but not exclusive. And I don't know if for me, it's kind of not sort of the sort of person that would go, hey, look, this is because no one really in the real world, no one really gives a toss. If you said to them in the real world, hey, I've made this album all on Eurorack, most people would be scratching their head going, what is this nerd talking about? Do you know what I mean? That it's only in the synth world that everyone would kind of, their propellers would be spinning, everyone would be going, oh, wow, it's cool, it's all Eurorack. Or he made that album purely with guitar pedals, especially those ones that Andy showed us before. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what would be kind of something that would float our boats, but not the real world anyway. So, yeah. Hopefully that answered your question. Yeah, you can't check out the album just yet, though. It's not out. So just wait. And yeah, it'll be crap too. Just like my other 2 albums that I released. What were you saying before, Will, about finishing music?
Yeah, don't do it.
Yeah. So that's what my album is, an album of unfinished music. There you go. That I'm kind of slightly happy about letting the public know about.
You know what? I think that if you're going to make music that you love. And if you're going to make music in a live situation or, I think it's important to focus on creativity. That's just my opinion. That's why my channel is called EyeWill Create. Because it's about the creative process for me. I let somebody else deal with, if they want to make it proper or whatever. I want to be okay with letting imperfection go. you know, because
Yeah.
I'm OCD, ED, all that stuff, and I have to be okay with letting it go, just letting a track be what it is. So I really focus my effort into being able to make tracks in real time. Like I want to be able to compose a finished track like in an hour. Like that would be a dream. So that's what I work towards. Will I ever get there? No.
Yeah.
We were having a
I will
little
die
chat.
trying.
We were having a little chat on Facebook though. I think Andy was involved. That some guy said to me, "Oh, I don't like my tracks. I think your tracks are great." And I was like, "No, dude, no, you're wrong. You're much better than me." He's like, "I'm not." We had like a little argument. So we all came to the conclusion that you like what you do for about 24 hours, right? And then you publish it. And then about 24 hours, you think, why have I released this rubbish?
Regrets.
The world. Yeah. And even the people I think are fantastic are all having the same paranoid, you know, God, people who I think are,
That's true.
you know, magnificent.
Well,
so it's all of us. It's not just you. You know what I mean? It's all of us.
There's a reason for that. It's because creatives are super sensitive.
Yeah, we're creative. Yeah, that's right. Hey, listen, guys, what I'm going to do
leads on to the whole depression thing as well. I think it's hard to get.
People, we need to snap the end of the show off. And this is not for you guys to disappear. This is just for people who rewatch this show on YouTube. So we're going to say goodbye, but we're not really. This is just literally, I'm going to play a little stinger, but we'll come back straight after. If you're new, don't go anywhere. This is still going to keep going, but this is just for the people on YouTube. So bye, YouTubers. We're going to play a little stinger, say goodbye to everyone. And if I can find it.
Bye, everyone.
Here we go.
Bye.